Hi guys, welcome back. In this lesson we're going to look at the three types of minor scale. So whilst there's just one major scale, there's actually three different types of minor scale. We have the natural minor, we have the harmonic minor, and we have the melodic minor. So whilst these scales sound very similar, they all play a specific purpose in jazz. So you'll need to learn each one and understand their function. So in this lesson we're going to look at what these scales are used for, and luckily there's only a slight variation between each of them. So once you understand the formula to construct these three scales, you'll have no problem finding them quickly and easily in all 12 keys. So before this lesson, I'd recommend watching the lesson on the major scales. So the major scales is the foundation of jazz piano. So I'd make sure you can play those scales confidently and then learn your minor scales afterwards. So first of all, let's look at the natural minor scale. The natural minor scale is the easiest one to learn, and that's because it shares the exact same notes as the major scale. So if we look at C major, for example, if we go to the sixth note of the scale, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, that takes us to A. And if we play the same notes from A to A, so it's all white notes in the C major scale, we get the A natural minor scale. So you can tell that although we're playing the same notes, if we listen to the C major scale, it sounds quite happy and like a joyful sound. And if we play from the sixth of the scale up to the sixth, the scale, it has a much darker, sort of sadder sound to it. So this is what we call the relative minor. Every major scale has a relative minor scale. You should be aware that the name relative minor and natural minor refer to the same scale, and these can be used interchangeably. So like I said, you can easily find the relative minor scale from any major scale just by starting and ending of this on the sixth note of the major scale. So let's look at a couple more examples. Let's take the key of E flat major. If we go to the sixth note, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then play the same notes, that gives us the C natural minor scale. Another example would be in the key of G major. So here's the G major scale. And if we go to the sixth note, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, that's E. And then we play the same scale from E. And that gives us the E natural minor scale. So a quick way to learn them all is to use the circle of fifths. If you look at the diagram here, you can see that the relative minor scale is inside the circle and the major scale is outside. So I'd work through all 12 keys and play the major scale and then its relative minor. And remember that you're playing the exact same notes, but you're just starting from a different point in the scale. So the next scale we're going to look at is the harmonic minor scale. As the name suggests, the harmonic minor scale influences the harmony, and it's used to extend the harmonic possibilities when we're playing in minor keys. So the harmonic minor is the same as the natural minor, except that the seventh note of the scale has been raised by half a step. So here's the C natural minor scale. And to get to the C harmonic minor, we just raise the seventh degree, which is B flat. So we raise it by half a step to B. So that gives us. So by raising the seventh note, it creates a distinctive 3 semitone interval at the top of the scale. And it has kind of like a Middle Eastern quality to it, which is a very distinctive sound. So by raising the seventh degree, the scale gets a much stronger harmonic foundation when we come to build chords from it. We build chords from scales to create things like 2-5-1 progressions. So when we create a 2-5-1 progression in a minor key, we always use the harmonic minor scale. This is because if we look at the natural minor, if we build the 2 chord, we have a minor 7 flat 5. The 5 chord is a G minor 7, and the 1 chord is a C minor 7. Now there isn't a strong sense of pull from the G minor 7 to the C minor 7. In a 2-5-1 progression, the 5 chord must be dominant, and that's what gives it a strong sense of pull to a chord a fifth below, which is the 1 chord. So when we look at the harmonic minor scale, now that that 7th degree has been raised, we still have D minor 7 flat 5, but when we move to the 5 chord, instead of having G minor 7, we have G7, and that gives it a very strong sense of pull back to the 1 chord, which is a minor major chord, so C minor major. So in the lesson on the minor 2-5-1, we look at this in much more detail. We go through left hand voicings so that you can play minor 2-5-1 progressions in all 12 keys. So go and check that out if you'd like more information on it. So finally we have the melodic minor scale. As the name suggests, the melodic minor scale is used to create more interesting melodic possibilities when playing in minor keys. The melodic minor is the same as the natural minor, but this time both the 6th and the 7th notes have been raised by half a step. So if we play the natural minor for C, to turn it into the melodic minor scale, we raise both the 6th and the 7th notes. So that means instead of A flat, we're playing A, and instead of B flat, we're playing B. So the C melodic minor scale would be. You could also look at this as the C major scale with a flattened third. So if you've studied classical music, which many people have before entering jazz, you will have probably learnt that the 6th and 7th of the melodic minor are raised on the way up, and then you play the natural minor scale when you're going down the scale. So this is correct in a classical setting. However, in jazz, we play the raised 6th and 7th, both ascending and descending. So it's always like this. So the raised 6th in the melodic minor scale, it gets rid of that awkward 3 semitone interval that was in the harmonic minor scale. And so that means that the scale flows very smoothly, so there's no awkward intervals. If you play it a few times, you'll find it fits in the fingers very nicely. And because there's no awkward intervals, this is why it's suited for melodic development and for improvisation. So the melodic minor scale is a very exotic sounding scale when you know how to use it, and it characterizes the sound of modern jazz improvisation. Here's an example of something you could do with it. So it's very, very exotic, very interesting sound. So if you head over to the Piano Groove Resources section, you'll find a worksheet on the minor scales. It contains the natural minor, the harmonic minor, and the melodic minor. So the best approach is to start out with the natural minor, play it up and down a few times, then create the harmonic minor by raising the 7th note, play that one up a few times, and then create the melodic minor by also raising the 6th. So in the key of C, for example, you play the natural minor, and then turn it into the harmonic minor, and then the melodic minor. And you'd want to repeat that through all 12 keys. You can use the circle of fifths, or you can use the download worksheet that I have. So whilst it's good to be able to read the music for these scales, I'd recommend trying to memorize the formulas and then just applying them to all keys. That way you aren't reliant on reading sheet music, and you'll just have this information at your disposal. So I hope you found that lesson useful, and if you do have any questions with the minor scales, just drop it in the comment box below.